My eye is open. I put on my big, thick grandma glasses and tousle my messy bangs and hop out of my vintage quilt. I put on some winged eyeliner and red lipstick and grab my favorite bird pattern dress. I decide to pair it with bright tights that don't really match and my favorite saddle shoes. I grab my vintage leather messenger bag and head out to the local bookstore coffee shop. I drink super sugary whipped cream coffee drinks because I'm quirky and childlike. I mysteriously look over at the bookseller and go on to finish my coffee in the park. I grab my Polaroid camera and take an artsy photo of my coffee in front of a fountain. Then take out my outdated CD player and oversized headphones and listen to the new Death Cab for Cutie album, a band you probably haven't heard of. I walk over to a small rundown movie theater with only one screen and go see Life Aquatic, the latest Wes Anderson film, a director you probably haven't heard of. Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Dion and today we are going to talk about the Twee aesthetic. This was an aesthetic that was super popular in the 2010s, like 2010, 11, 12-ish, and it sort of originated in the 80s and it takes a lot of inspiration from the 60s. So it's like a very vintagey aesthetic. I think it is such a cute aesthetic for fall because it has tights and layering and it's super, super cute. Obviously my aesthetic intro story was a little bit tongue-in-cheek just because I sort of lived in that era. I was a teenager in that era, and the entire hipster mentality back then was so exclusive, so it's fun to poke fun of. So if you like niche aesthetic videos and fashion commentary in general, then definitely make sure to subscribe to this channel because I post videos every Thursday, and with that, let's get into it. So to me, one of the most important aspects of the Twee aesthetic are like woodland creatures.
Birds on things.
Spruce it up. Make it pretty.
Thank you.
Put a bird on it.
And whimsical accessories. Sweaters with foxes on them, dresses with birds,
Put a bird on it.
necklaces with owls, and that makes this the perfect fall aesthetic in my opinion. Twee is part of like the umbrella of the 2010s hipster aesthetic, which I've done an entire video on, and it's sort of an offshoot of indie sleaze, and then another aesthetic that I've done a whole video on, so definitely check those out. It also is very similar to me to the art ho aesthetic, which came a little bit later, but plays on the same color scheme, and that was an aesthetic invented by like Black women in the art community on Tumblr. So I feel like they kind of go hand in hand. Lots of sunflowers, woodland creatures again. Of course, we went to Aesthetics Wiki, so this is what they have to say about it. Quote, "The aesthetic is characterized by an embrace of imperfection, childishness, whimsy, quirkiness, and being genuine. As described by James Parker of The Atlantic, quote, Twee's core values include a healthy suspicion of adulthood, a steadfast focus on our essential goodness, the cultivation of a passion project like t-shirt companies, organic food trucks, and the utter dispensing of, quote, cool, as it's conventionally known, often in favor of a fetishization of the nerd, the geek, the dork, the virgin." From 17 magazine, quote, "Artists like Death Cab for Cutie, Regina Spektor, and She and Him all played on the aesthetic in their songs and music videos, and soon enough, the style followed suit in movies like Juno and 500 Days of Summer." Quote, "When Twee originally entered fashion 10 plus years ago, it was hot on the heels of Y2K's sexy, hyper glam, over the top party girl aesthetic. Twee characterized itself as cute and nostalgic. We saw a shift from low-rise jeans to retro cardigans, from label-obsessed to thriftcore." So for the breakdown of the aesthetic, the colors are a lot of primary colors: sunflower yellow, cherry red, hunter green, burnt orange. But for me, I feel like the aesthetic is really characterized by its patterns, including lots of birds.
Put
A
bird
on
it.
And just general foxes, squirrels, bunnies, all those kind of like woodland creatures. Icons of the aesthetic are Best Dressed, Hannah Ruth Zander, Randy Butler, Mina Lay, Taylor Swift circa 2013, Zoe Deschanel and her character Jess on New Girl, Cassie from Skins, Twiggy, Retro Rosie, and obviously there's a lot more. Designers, I would say, that really fit the Twee aesthetic are Miu Miu especially. They love a Peter Pan collar and saddle shoes and that vintage sort of vibe. Also ModCloth, Gani, a lot of the coats from Somewhere Nowhere I feel like fit in the Twee aesthetic, and Orla Kylie. But I feel like a lot of designers have collections like Gucci or just throughout the decades of sort of twee aspects. Likes of the twee person are outdated tech, indie movies, thrifting, art, handicraft, picnics in the sunshine, Wes Anderson style adventures. They hang out in old theaters, dive bars, and vintage shops. The essentials of the twee aesthetic are cardigans, overalls, blazers, yellow raincoats, box pleated and circle skirts, anything with a woodland pattern, Peter Pan collars, mini A-line dresses, pinafores, puff sleeves. Shoes include Oxford, saddle shoes, loafers, Mary Janes, and ballet flats. Favorite accessories are pussy bows, suspenders, berets, statement glasses, leather satchel, and primary colored tights. The main criticism I saw when researching twee was the fat phobia that was really prevalent when it was popular in the 2010s, and that's really due to the fact that it was around like peak ED Tumblr and Manic Pixie Dream Girl era. And again, it's off the heels of Y2K, which is definitely very one note when it comes to body size and everything. And there are some creators on TikTok that were talking about like they don't want twee to come back because it was fat phobic back then. But on the other hand, there are other creators that are like, this is the new era of twee, it's different. Others feel that the vintage style is so prevalent in the plus size fashion community, especially since many size inclusive brands like Lane Bryant or Torrid often lean into the vintage style. Regardless, with every trend resurrection comes a little change, and the fashion industry is slowly but surely trying to become more inclusive. And I think sites like TikTok, where anyone of any size can try out aesthetics and make fashion videos, help shape a better overall image of fashion and trends. Alrighty, so now we're going to talk about getting the look for the twee aesthetic. Again, twee to me is all about that vintage feel in a very cutesy way. Dresses that are 1960s short and sort of in a youthful silhouette. Obviously, collars are a huge part of the aesthetic, so layering under the cute dress a top that is maybe puff-sleeved and then some sort of collar, like a big Danish collar, a classic 2010s Peter Pan collar, or something more professional and pointed. You can also pair a top like this with an accordion pleated or circle skirt. You gotta put tights underneath. I was putting tights underneath things in Miami where it's 95 degrees at all times. So that is like a mandatory part of this aesthetic. You gotta pair some funky tights with it. And then some sort of vintagey academia style shoe. That's open to interpretation. This style is 2020, does 2010, does 1980, does 1960. So finding this secondhand could not be easier. Part of this aesthetic is the truly vintage things and thrifting for your clothes. So buying something new for the twee aesthetic is like so poser, because back when the twee aesthetic was popular, yes, it was shopping at Urban Outfitters and Forever 21, but it was also like, oh yeah, you can't get this satchel anywhere. I got it at a vintage store and an old man told me his dad got it in the war, or like whatever. That's very twee, very hipster. So thrifting is mandatory for this aesthetic as well. Danish collars were really, really big in 2020. That's when I got this dress. So I found a decent amount of that stuff at the thrift store. Obviously, circle skirts are everywhere. And then just finding cutesy little woodland accessories like headbands, necklaces, something like that. Pretty easy, I feel like. And I just think this is a very cute, it's like the perfect cutesy fall aesthetic because it brings in autumn colors, it brings in what you love about autumn fashion, which is tights and layering and all of that kind of like academia style vibe. It's super easy to thrift. I think this is such a cute aesthetic, and I think it's something that's been like permeating obviously since the 1960s, is sort of like youthful, collared, a fun style. I do genuinely enjoy twee, so definitely try it out this fall and comment down below what other fall aesthetics you want me to cover. I love this season, and give this video a thumbs up because it really helps out my channel. Subscribe to my channel because I post videos every Thursday, and follow me on TikTok and Instagram for even more style content. And with that, I'll see you next week. Bye!
Put a bird on it!